Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining us for the follow-up Let's Talk Justice, a Q&A session as a follow-up to our 2021 Day of Advocacy. We have with us this evening Whitley Carpenter, staff attorney with Forward Justice, and Omar Onque, community organizer for Mecklenburg County with Forward Justice. And we'll be spending some time this evening answering the questions that you all have submitted to us about second chance policies, the Second Chance Alliance, and other things related to reentry criminal justice reform. So we will go ahead and ask folks to start dropping in their questions into the chat, and we will go ahead and get started. Go ahead and get started. Right, while folks are going through and getting ready to put their questions in the chat, we can start with some of the questions that folks have submitted via email. One of the first questions we have is how to get started with a reentry program in their area. Folks would like to connect with someone on our team who could help them with a blueprint and ways to get started. Omar, did you want to take that question?
Yeah, I'll take that question. One of the first ways to start your reentry is whatever county you're being released from. It's multiple reentry committees across the state. Here in Mecklenburg County, one I know is Reentry Partners of Mecklenburg County. There's numerous partners across the state. I know we have on the eastern part of the state, we have Dennis Gaddy that's very instrumental in reentry in the eastern part of North Carolina. I don't know, Brittany, could you drop his organization's actual link in the chat?
Absolutely, I'll drop that in now.
Okay. And once you get in contact with those reentry partners, they can connect you. Here at Second Chance Alliance, we have 4 chapters currently across the state. We have one in Mecklenburg County where we have a coordinator by the name of Sangria Noble. Her email is snoble@ncsecondchance.org. She's the Mecklenburg County Second Chance Alliance coordinator. We have New Hanover County with Daquan Peters. It's the Link Second Chance Alliance coordinator and organizer for New Hanover County, and that's Wilmington, North Carolina, for people not familiar. We have a chapter in Buncombe County in Western North Carolina, where Brent Bailey is the chapter coordinator for Buncombe County, and that's Asheville and the surrounding areas in Western North Carolina. And then you also can connect with Diana. And I don't have Diana's information right on hand. If you can drop that when you drop Dennis Gaddy's information. They work closely together, and Diana is in Wake County. We actually don't have a chapter there, but she's a strong partner with the North Carolina Second Chance Alliance. And those people are your major point people to contact with reentry inquiries and wanting to find out about other reentry resources that's in their counties when it comes to reentry boards or any reentry councils or reentry services in that county. We also can always relay people to the North Carolina Second Chance Alliance website, which is ncsecondchance.org, where we have direct links to these reentry partners also. So that's always the easy access point for people. once they are released back into the public. I think we kind of can go on to the next one. If you had one ready, Brittany, if you haven't seen any dropped in the chat.
Thank you, Omar. Let's see. One of the other questions that we see, how do I get help with driver's license restoration? Whitley, did you want to take that one?
Sure. So when it comes to driver's license restoration, there are several district attorney's offices in the state of North Carolina that have taken action to provide mass relief for previous debt that people owe. And so there are select DAs in the state that have dismissed thousands of old traffic charges or worked with the court to get rid of old debt that people owed for old tickets. And one place that you can search if you're in Durham County, you can go to the DEER office, and that's the Durham Expungement and Restoration Program, and it's located in the Durham County Courthouse. But you can also check, if you're not in Durham, I'm sorry, can you put that website in the chat, Britt? Because I just said the wrong one. I don't want to say the wrong one in front of everyone else. drive.ncfairchance.org. And that way you can go to that website and check and see if the DA's office in your county has done a mass debt relief program, and if your previous driver's license debt has been addressed, and you may be able to be considered for restoration of your driver's license.
Great, thanks, Whit. Let's see some of the other questions that we have. All right, someone wants to know what is the difference between the Second Chance Act and the Raise the Wage Act?
Can jump back in again. So the Raise the Age legislation really focused on kids, juveniles in the North Carolina court system, as North Carolina was the last state in the country that continued to treat 16 and 17-year-olds like adults in criminal court. So what Raise the Age did, it raised the age of juvenile jurisdiction, so that when kids are 16 or 17 and they are charged with certain offenses, their charges and their cases will be handled in juvenile court rather than automatically in adult court as it had been in the past. And so what Raise the Age does is, in the future, when you're 16 or 17, you will likely automatically be processed and adjudicated in juvenile court, with the exception of certain more serious offenses. When it comes to the Second Chance Act and the provisions about Raise the Age, the goal was to address the folks that may have been 16 or 17 when they had their first minor offense, but didn't get the benefit of the Raise the Age legislation. And so the Second Chance Act has a provision that allows you to expunge criminal convictions that you got when you were 16 or 17 years old, and they were handled in adult court. And those convictions are limited to Class H and I felonies. And there's a list of those on our ncsecondchance.org website, so that you can see exactly who may be eligible for this. But generally, if you are an adult, you were charged and convicted when you were 16 or 17 in adult court and not in juvenile court, then you may be eligible to file a petition for expungement in the county where you were convicted to get those convictions taken off of your record.
Great, thanks for that answer, Whit. I see someone in the chat. We're asking folks, please ask your questions in the comments box below. Someone is asking, what bills should we be asking our state legislators to support?
I see Omar smiling. I didn't know if he wanted to jump in, but I think a good answer is that we, as the Second Chance Alliance, are working on putting together a legislative policy agenda to share with our members and with the folks that are interested in being a part of Second Chance Alliance, we have our policy priorities, which focus on criminal record clearing, fines and fees, access to the ballot for people with past criminal convictions, housing for people with past criminal convictions. And you can find that policy agenda on ncsecondchance.org. But we are working to put together in future legislative sessions a legislative policy agenda so that folks know which bills are helpful or harmful as it relates to our policy goals with the Second Chance Alliance. And if you have more questions about those policy priorities, again, you can find them on ncsecondchance.org, and feel free to reach out to either me or Omar to get more information on the relevant legislation related to each of those priorities, because the list is pretty long.
And I will add, the crime bill, SB 300, is a pretty good bill that's moving pretty well and have a lot of support from a lot of organizers and attorneys and legislators. But a bill that some people might not be familiar with is actually a new expungement bill that's going through the session, SB 301. The Second Chance Alliance, we wasn't pleased with the upgrades with this SB 301. It does have some reform in it, but we're thinking that we could have got a lot more. So right at this time, we're not in full support of SB 301, but SB 300 seems to be moving well, and we pretty much seem to support it. Those just two crime bills that I have off the top of my head that I know been on my watch. But like Whitley said, we will be releasing some actual documents with all of the bills that are harmful and helpful for the community and the disenfranchised.
Great, thank you, Omar. I'm gonna put a link here in the chat shortly that is a resource that may be helpful for folks along those same lines. Another question that we see here, and these are folks that submitted questions that may not have been able to join us live. Folks want to know, what job placement assistance or resources are there for folks in North Carolina who are seeking employment that may be having challenges because of a record?
I can jump in and just say that is going to vary mostly by region that you're in. I would recommend looking out into NC Works. They tend to have locations across the state, and there's one right here in Raleigh that some of our partners work with. And then also, if you are in one of the regions that we have chapter coordinators, organizers, that would be the New Hanover County region, the Mecklenburg County region, the Buncombe County region. I would say reach out to our chapter organizers as well for just information and resources that may be helpful for finding employment.
Thanks, Whit. And we see this question a couple more times. I know we answered it when we first came on live, but if we could have Omar maybe give a quick spiel again for the folks who want to be connected with affiliates. There are folks asking in Winston-Salem, in Southern Pines, and I will redrop a link in the chat to our campaign coordinator, his contact information. But Omar, did you want to refresh the folks who may have just be joining on a spill about how to get involved or how to set up a chapter in their area if they're interested?
Yes. I think Brittany's going to drop the contact info, but we have a little screening process with because we are eager to expand Second Chance Alliance across the state, but we would like to see people who are maybe 2 hours or more away from a chapter that's already established. I seen someone ask about Forsyth County. The best thing would be to get you 5 to 10 like-minded people in your county that you're connected with, you in close contact with, And then you will contact Jarvis Johnson at jjohnson@ncsecondchance.org. He's the Clean Slate campaign manager at Second Chance Alliance and at Fort Justice. And he would be your contact person for any inquiries about starting a chapter in your area. But we will ask people to already have 5 to 10 people who already will come on as members, so you all can put your heads together and really get on board to spreading this reentry work and its clean slate work and its fines and fees work. But we find that if a chapter started with only one member, it's hard to gain engagement with the community. So if they see a collective of people starting a new chapter, you'll get more engagement with the community and more interaction with the youth and more interaction with people who have resources around your county. But we are definitely looking to build out the Second Chance Alliance throughout North Carolina. So again, Jarvis Johnson at jjohnson@nc.org, and it will be dropped in the chat. It's the contact person for starting chapters in your local area.
Thank you, Omar. I see someone in the chat asking about Asheville. And Omar, I'll let you talk through who the point of contact is for that, and I'll drop their information in the chat box as well.
Yes, Buncombe County, Asheville already have a chapter. Brent Bailey is the chapter coordinator out there in Buncombe County, in Asheville, in the surrounding area. His contacts will be dropped in the chat. And it looks like, oh, I know that person who dropped that in. So I can definitely connect her with Brent Bailey if she need any resources from him.
Awesome. Thank you, Omar. All right, if folks are on board, we'll take a quick, very brief intermission to share some music and information with you all about how you can get involved, where to direct additional questions, and some other ways that you can get involved with the Second Chance Alliance.
See, I think we got one. Nah, I hear you. This shit go dummy.
Still pleading for freedom, for them second chances we begging over sentencing fathers and overwork mama so young and they learning this lesson. Got out here failing, look for a job but he ain't got no right, so he can't call a fly, so he right back to stressing. Even though it ain't right, everybody turn back, so he turn to his weapons. Still screaming can't breathe, so they don't get the message. Put rolling court fees, Uncle Sam got a handout, so taking no peace from 2007. Best believe that they racist, say no segregation, but they separate us in the 80s our section. There's some people they ready for change, on the corners they begging for change. Them youngins won't make them a name, every kid got a voice but afraid to make noise, so we helping release it. Second chance. Black lives matter, still screaming, can't breathe. Don't shoot cause I got on my hands. Don't shoot cause I got on my hands. Say we need a second chance. Black lives matter, still screaming, can't breathe. Don't shoot cause I got on my hands. Don't shoot cause I got on my hands. Say we need a second chance. Black lives matter, still screaming, can't breathe. Don't shoot cause I got on my hands. Don't shoot cause I got on my hands. Say we need a second chance. Black lives matter, still screaming, can't breathe. Don't shoot cause I got on my hands. Don't shoot cause I got on my hands.
Look into my eyes, all you see is pain. We speaking, but now they ain't hearing us. Coming at their protection, we see blue lights in our mirrors, and they're just preparing us. We gotta be gunned down, but enough for the people to really remember us. We fighting our own in the police.
All right, y'all. Thanks for hanging in there. We had a brief intermission. We hope you got lots of good information from the slides that we were circulating. I will put a link in the comments for where you can sign up to join the Alliance. We hope that all of you will join and become members and join the movement. The song that you all just heard was actually created by the sons of one of our chapter organizers down in Charlotte. Omar, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that work, the amazing work that's happening down there in Charlotte with a group of guys. And folks, feel free to continue putting your questions in the comments. We'll be here as long as you have questions. And then once we have satisfied and given y'all all the information that you need, we're going to let our folks call it a night.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said a little earlier, during the live, Mecklenburg County chapter coordinator for Second Chance Alliance is the wonderful Sangria Noble. She actually came aboard and brought her sons involved. Um, Sangria Noble, her sons, everyone. She has three sons that actually wrote, produced, um, and recorded this song um, within a couple of days when she asked them to. And they've been very heavily involved in the Mecklenburg County chapter. They're focusing on getting more engagement and bringing the youth to be more involved and letting the youth know the resources that's available, let them know about the about the automation with the juvenile and with the raise the age. Because we all know here across the state, and especially here in Charlotte, um, our youth really need some attention. And we don't want to give them the bad attention. We want to just give them the loving attention that they need. We want to give them we want to give them a safe place, a safe space to come talk to us, a safe space to ask questions and get advice from certain legal aids and certain attorneys that we have access and resources to, because there's a lot of bad false information that goes around. So my key, if you guys ever see me walking around or run into me, if I don't have the answer to your question, I won't just tell you anything. I'll tell you how to contact me and I will get the answer for you. I will not give you any false information. It's okay for me not to know the answer. I'm not an attorney. I'm a community organizer, and I'm out here in the fight just like you guys. I'm directly impacted myself. Everyone that's currently involved with the Mecklenburg County chapter is directly impacted. All of our coordinators in Second Chance Alliance is directly impacted because we all know in this work, nobody's perspective and nobody's voice matters most than the directly impacted and the justice involved. And sometimes our voices seem to get silenced and seem to not get heard or not even be welcomed in certain rooms when it comes to criminal justice reform. But here at Second Chance Alliance, we tend to make sure that directly impacted are the first ones at the table and the main ones at the table making the decisions. And again, that coordinator here in Mecklenburg County is Sangria Noble. She's doing great work. Her email was dropped in the chat. If anyone missed that, it's snoble@ncsecondchance.org. And I just want to thank everyone for joining this live this evening. This has been a long day. I know my colleagues are ready to call it a day. We've been at this thing probably since 8, 9 this morning, but we do this every day. But today's just coming to an end. We were so glad that you all could join us. I seen some familiar faces here on this live. And again, I want to drop my information in the chat. If Brittany can do it for me, I'll go ahead and just say it for anyone who's on a phone and can't happen to see the chat. It's Onque at ncsecondchance.org. You can reach me directly for any inquiries about reentry here in Mecklenburg County, or any inquiries about reentry or Second Chance Alliance, or if you quite didn't save any of the links that we dropped in the chat, I can gladly send those links over to you. You can just contact me at that email. Again, it's Onque, ONQUE at ncsecondchance.org. I thank everyone for their time. I don't know if Whitley wanted to leave you guys with a couple of words. This is a wonderful movement lawyer out of North Carolina. She's going to ring bells here come probably for decades, and she's doing a lot of great work. She really helps me a lot on learning certain things that I need to learn so I don't give people wrong information. She's my go-to attorney and lawyer. I probably should have her on payroll, but I don't, because she offers her loving advice to me and my community partners at the drop of every dime, any time of the night. She answers her phone. So she's my go-to. So you guys know, if you have access to me, you have access to her.
Thank you, Omar. Before we go, we've gotten one question a couple of different times. I want to make sure that we ask this question while we have Whitley and her expertise here. And if there are any other questions, go ahead and drop them in now. This is last call. But one of the questions that we've gotten over and over is how to get an expungement. What is the process for getting an expungement? Some folks are asking about things that they got on their record when they were juveniles. Folks are asking about what the process is. So if you could give folks a little bit of insight there.
Thank you, Brittany. And I will also say thank you, Omar, for those kind words. I would like to flip that and say, you know, I learned from you as well. And so that's why we all make such a good team. We can't win this fight with just one approach. We have to have many approaches and many different people all being able to work together and bring in their expertise and knowledge. And that's what we do. So you know, it's not one person has all the knowledge. We all work together in this. And so I really would love to commend Omar for everything he's doing out in the community and the rest of our organizers and coordinators, because as he stated, we aren't going to see change unless we're taking the guidance and cues from those who are most directly impacted by all the issues that we are attempting to combat, because those closer to the problem are closer to the solution. So I just want to commend all of my colleagues, lawyers, non-lawyers, organizers, non-organizers, communications folks, for getting the word out there. This is an uphill battle and we all fight on this together. To Brittany's question about expungements, yes, this is a question that we get daily, and it's not an easy answer. So I will start out by saying that just today we launched a new page on our NC Second Chance site that tries to answer this question for folks in the most simple way possible, breaking it down in the various questions that people may have about expungements. And so that will be on ncsecondchance.org. And I believe we'll have a link dropped in the chat as well that will link you directly to the page on expungements. It lists some of the frequently asked questions that we get. It talks a little bit about the process for filing, although that's going to vary slightly by your county and where you are. And then it talks about the different types of expungements you can get. So generally, if you are looking to expunge your record, you have to think about three different things. And one is the time period that it has been since you were actually convicted or completed your sentence. Two is the type of offense that you had. And so in North Carolina, they classify felonies and misdemeanors. Felonies are A through G are ineligible to be expunged. Misdemeanors, A1s are ineligible to be expunged. So you have to look at the classification of the offense that you received. And then third, you have to see how many offenses you actually have on your record. So just last year, they made it such that you can get an unlimited number of misdemeanors expunged after a certain waiting period. But if you only have one, then there's a shorter waiting period. You can only have one felony, and that's a 10-year waiting period. So there are lots of different rules depending on what it is that you're trying to get expunged and what your record looks like. So I would absolutely recommend that folks go to ncsecondchance.org, check out our new expungement guide. It will link you to any form that you might need for each of the types of expungements that you would need to take to court. And then it will walk you through the process as well. And what that looks like is you'll have to get one of these petition forms that's linked on the website. And you'll fill that out with all of your personal information and information about that charge. And then you'll take it to your county clerk's office. And that'll need to be the county clerk for the county for which you were convicted or charged in. So even if you live somewhere else now, it has to be filed in that county. And the processes at this point kind of vary based on where you are and the type of expungement that you're getting. But the general process is that once you file it with the court, on the front end, it will be signed by a judge, and then it will be sent off to the SBI, or the State Bureau of Investigations. And the SBI then does a national background check to determine if you have any other, convictions on your record, any other convictions in other states or federal convictions. And then the SBI will send that expungement petition and that background check to the AOC, which is the Administrative Office of the Courts. And the AOC then does a check to see if you've had any expungements in the past that might bar you from an expungement right now. So there are rules, and these are listed on that NC Second Chance page about certain expungements you can only get once in your lifetime. And so AOC does that check to see if you have gotten this type of expungement before. And then they send that information along with that background check from the SBI, along with the petition that you filed with the court, back to the county clerk where you originally filed the petition. And at that point, the petition has to go in front of a judge with all of the information collected from the SBI and from the AOC. And counties pretty much vary as to whether or not you will need to come back in person for a hearing on the petition. Sometimes there's differences in whether it's a conviction expungement versus a dismissed charge expungement as to if you'll need to be present for the hearing. But sometimes you may have to calendar a hearing in front of a judge. But ultimately, if the charge is expunged, then the clerk's office will notify all of the relevant agencies, and then you will receive a copy of that expungement petition as it has been completed. So I know I said a mouthful, and again, the process can be long. I believe right now we're seeing between 2 to 4 months for the petition to get back from all of the different agencies. But I know in the past, I've seen it take up to 9 months. So it's kind of hard to gauge how long the process will take. But if you have further questions, again, please go to ncsecondchance.org. Brittany will place the direct link in the chat. And if you have further questions, definitely feel free to reach out to me, or anyone on our team, and we'd be happy to answer your questions.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add, because a big question that I get a lot of times. So if you're looking into getting your nonviolent felony charge expunged, the waiting period starts from your last conviction, misdemeanor or felony, not just the conviction of that actual charge. If you have other cases that you was convicted of, misdemeanor or felony, your waiting period starts at that conviction date. And I know that's the thing that a lot of people ask and get confused on. I wanted to just drop that in.
Add to that, it would be the completion of your sentence. So a lot of generally, there are exceptions to that, but a lot of folks think the day you walk out of the courtroom, you can start counting towards that 10 years. But it's really whenever you have completed whatever the court asked you to do as a part of your sentencing. So if that was prison, if that was probation, whatever that was that you had to complete under supervision of the Department of Public Safety, when you've completed that, that's when that time period starts. There are certain exceptions to that rule, like the raise the age expungements and certain drug convictions that happen before you were 22. Those start at the end of the conviction date, but most are the end of the completion of your sentence.
Thank you, Omar, and thank you, Whitley, for that. I know that's a question that we get often, so I know folks appreciate that insight. We have reached the end of our questions that we're seeing in the chat, as well as the ones that have been submitted ahead of time. Circling back really quickly to Senate Bill 301 and the organization's position on that, we have a one-pager that Whitley mentioned earlier. I'm going to drop a link in the chat to the one-pager, so folks will have access to that information as well. All right, this is last call for questions. If there are no, hold on one second. All right, really quickly, one last one. Folks are asking about DWIs and I guess how it relates to expungements. Whit, do you want to touch on that really quickly before we wrap up?
Yes, I know this is a question we were getting, and I wasn't sure if maybe I should touch on it in the last question. I guess I should have. But as of now, You cannot expunge DWIs in North Carolina. There has been talks about this in the General Assembly and, proposals to make that happen. But as of now, you cannot expunge DWIs. It's listed as one of the excluded offenses along with the A through G felonies. Driving while impaired offenses are currently excluded, as are many offenses that people reach out about, which is why we need you to join the Second Chance Alliance. If you have a conviction on your record that is ineligible to be expunged, we're constantly pushing for changes to the expungement laws and expansion of the expungement laws and expansion of the accessibility of expungements in North Carolina. And so your voice is needed, and no one can tell your story quite like you can. So we really invite you to reach out to us, reach out to our organizers, and join the fight with us.
All right, and last call for real this time. We got one last question. Does the completion of court order things include fines and fees? So we talked about having, the requirements for completion for expungements. Do those requirements include fines and fees?
So I'm going to generally answer this. You have to have paid your restitution and have no civil judgments for the case that you're trying to expunge. That is the most general language for the expungements generally. So complete paying whatever restitution you owe, and none of those court fines and fees can be as in the form of a civil judgment against you for that case.
And the piggyback off that with to let people know, having a fine of drug tax in the state of North Carolina does not exclude you from submitting your expungement also.
Thank you, Omar. All right, y'all, we appreciate y'all taking the time out of your evening to answer some of these questions and connect with us. Contact information for Omar is in the chat box. If you have additional questions, you can send them to info@ncsecondchance.org, and I'll put that email address in the chat box as well. And then I will also drop in the chat box contact information for Whitley as well. So thank you all for joining. We encourage you again to scroll through the links or scroll through the comments. There are links to all of the resources that we've mentioned, the one-pager on Senate bill, the links to the Second Chance Alliance policy agenda, how to join, how to get in contact with our amazing team of folks. So once again, we thank you all for joining us, and everyone have a great evening.